to Module 3 of IT Project Management. In this module, we'll look at an organization's project evaluation and selection process. This module focuses on understanding the process of translating a project from the glimmer in someone's eye into a solid description called the business case, which then may turn the idea into a project in the organization's project portfolio. We will look at what a solid business case looks like and how it is built. Lastly, we will look at two important financial calculations, return on investment or ROI and net present value, both of which are found in most business cases today. You may remember this graphic. Now, most companies want to grow and become bigger, better, and faster every year when delivering their products or services to their clients or customers. Or they need to react to market pressures. That's what the company's strategy typically brings into focus. Then the C-level and other executives decide to break up the strategy into tactical objectives, which can be realized through portfolios full of programs and projects. But how does a company know which portfolios, programs, and projects are the right ones to invest into? This is where the IDEO framework comes in, developed by the IDEO Design Thinking Company. These three variables you're seeing here are particularly useful when evaluating potential projects from an idea perspective. The IDEO framework focuses on three aspects. Feasibility. Is the solution technically feasible? Desirability. Do people want the solution and is there a market for it? And lastly, viability. Can the solution be delivered within a sustainable business model? So before we even consider whether any projects make financial sense for the company, we need to consider these very basic questions. If we cannot solve these very basic questions, we should not progress to any further financial evaluation steps. Honestly, it's just like buying a cell phone. When you are shopping for a new cell phone, what are your criteria? Maybe you want a big screen. Maybe you want long battery life. You're probably looking for some storage and a pretty decent camera too. The phone shouldn't break at the first drop and should have an operating system that makes you feel comfortable. But you also want to be able to afford it, right? And if you need the phone this week, there is no use to wait for the next model that will be released in, say, October. So once you know which of these criteria are more and which ones are less important to you, you'll compare all of these phones here and find the one that has the screen size, storage, and camera you want. And you may be ready to make concessions on battery life and maybe even be ready to pay $100 more or wait 2 weeks longer than you had initially planned. All that just to get the phone in your hands. It's the same with projects. An organization also has criteria based on which they pick what projects they invest money into. These criteria are focused on the big question: what project has the biggest chance to deliver the most value to the company with the least amount of risk? So, what are these criteria that organizational leadership uses to determine which projects get started and which ones don't? That depends on the area of impact that a project covers. As you can see on the right side, there are 5 of them: strategic, customer, financial, operational, and social. Each of these areas has an impact on the organization, no matter whether it is to enter a new market, increase customer confidence in existing products, contribute to the world at large, or bring the company financial or operational cost savings. Most IT projects are located in that last group because effective automation, effective modernization, and increased security certainly help the company run better, faster, and cheaper. The next step is to figure out how to measure that impact and what the target value should be, such as the expected outcome of this project will be that we see our average customer satisfaction ratings increase by 30%, or the expected outcome of this project will be that we win 100 new customers in Australia in the first year, then 100 new customers in Japan in the next year, and 200 new customers in China the year after that. In fact, each desired outcome carries with it an expected time frame as well. The next step is for leadership to determine whether the value, the target, and the time frame are actually doable. So they will consult with the most experienced senior members of the portfolio team, industry experts who know the market as well as how the project delivery teams work. This usually culminates in a value statement called the MOV, or Measurable Organizational Value, that you're seeing here. For example, increase awareness for healthy living by having 250 new subscribers sign up for a weekly newsletter within 6 months. This project or portfolio selection process we just talked about happens when deriving tactical objectives from the organizational strategy. This is how you at the project level will receive the goals for your project once you are selected as the project manager. So, how can an organization tell which projects are going to be profitable and which ones aren't? That's where the cost-benefit analysis comes in. Once leadership has made their wish list of all possible projects, everybody has to recognize that money does not grow on trees. So we have to find a way to pick and choose the most profitable projects. This happens with the cost-benefit analysis, where we look at the target value as the benefits of ownership, and we do a quick rough estimate what a project would cost us now and in the long run. That's called the cost of ownership. Cost of ownership consists of the direct upfront costs to the business, like your project budget, but then there are also ongoing costs like renewal costs for licenses that are specific to your unique service or product, and indirect costs like the rent for the special office that your project team needs to be co-located in one place, for example. Projects that the business will choose will most likely have more benefits than cost of ownership. This means that the business grows and does not lose money. There are 4 main mathematical models to calculate the benefits and the cost of ownership. Those are payback period, break-even point, return on investment, and net present value. Many of them we will find in the business case. A business case is something like a big marketing paper about why a project is worth doing and how the company should go about it. It contains an analysis of the organizational value, feasibility, costs, benefits, and risks of several proposed alternatives or options for a project to fulfill one of the organization's value objectives. A well-written business case gives the CEO or whoever decides which projects the company is going to undertake a good sense of the financial benefits and the costs of a project. It compares different ways of achieving the project goal, usually an inexpensive solution leading to a minimum viable product, a medium cost version that gives the CEO a bit more project outcome, and then the full scope, which is scalable for the future. That is the most expensive alternative. After weighing the pros and cons and the risks and opportunities of all these solution paths, the business case typically recommends one of the options and ends with why it is profitable for the company to invest in this project. Here is a sample business case. It proposes that Thought Leaders LLC, obviously the company itself, should build a new website. It starts with administrative details and references an executive sponsor. That's right. Remember how we said that nothing happens in a company if you don't have formal authority? That's what executive sponsors are for. Once their name appears on a proposal, it's hard to turn it down. The next section is the executive summary, and it's important that it is written well because that's what the decision makers will read first. And then, if there are any further questions, they'll dive into the rest of the document. If the executive summary is a turnoff, either because it is lacking a clear summary of the numbers or because it is not grammar and spell checked, The business case will easily make it into the wastebasket. The next section is about the idea. Note how in its organization it follows the typical problem-solution-benefit structure. That's because this structure is well known and easy to follow. Now, well known and easy to follow is the path to a company executive's heart because it helps them find information quickly. Take a look at the benefit statement here. Do you notice that something is missing? Exactly, the number crunching part. Instead, you'll see some tentative language like "we expect" and "should increase," rather than language that is absolutely certain. Why is that? Well, because the project has not happened yet. What you're seeing here is assumptions. As we have already seen, each business case has to predict the value that the company will gain from investing into the project. That's why the next section talks about the numbers. Do you recognize some of the terms you've seen earlier? ROI stands for return on investment. IRR stands for internal rate of return, and NPV stands for net present value. But how did they come up with those numbers? Take a look at the financial projections here and cross-reference the explanations with what you see in the table. A project like this would perhaps take about 12 to 20 weeks to complete. Here you see the year zero investment is $12,500, which is in parentheses to indicate cash outflow. So in year zero, we are losing $12,500. However, this project that is costing the company $12,500 is going to generate a positive cash flow of $16,000 per year over the next 5 years. To make this cash flow happen each year, the company has to invest $1,200 so that the final net benefit is $14,800 per year. That's $74,000 over the next 5 years. But how did they end up with a net present value of $40,000 and what is the discount rate? We'll get to this in a bit. What I first want to draw your attention to is the metrics section. These are the key metrics that the company will track after the project has transitioned to operations to make sure that it generates the value that the company is looking for. You've already learned that resource needs, that is the need for qualified people to work on a project and to support the product once it is released, are real. The resource needs section makes it quite clear who and what kinds of skills are needed in order to support the project's outcome long term. This is important to state because if the resources aren't available, the value of the project is in jeopardy. That's also why the resource needs section is very close to the risks and opportunities sections. Look at the risks here. Do the writers state just potential problems? As you can see in the first 2 sentences already, they don't. They foresee a potential risk and then come up with a solution right away. That's a great way to win an executive's heart. Show them that you have thought long and hard about how their investment could potentially be endangered, and then come up with solutions to reduce those risks. That strategy earns you an executive's trust. No project is free of risks. The only risks you don't have are the ones you don't foresee. The business case ends with milestones, that is, some idea about the timeline that such a project will have, and then with the measurements that the company will take for the next 5 years to confirm that the project has indeed been successful and is contributing value to the company. And here is the full structure of the business case template we have just analyzed. If you are ever asked to write a business case, this is a great way to organize the sales pitch for your idea. I promised you that we'll take a quick look at the math from our example. We'll explore 2 concepts here, return on investment and net present value. Return on investment is the benefit that an investor can expect over the entire period of the project benefit. It compares the gain or loss from an investment relative to its cost. To calculate it with its simplest formula, we subtract the total expected costs from the total expected benefits and then divide the result by the total expected costs. Then we multiply that result by 100. Take a look at the numbers from the business case. Our total expected benefits are the sum of the net benefits. So 5 times $14,800, which makes $74,000. Our total expected costs are the initial investment of $12,500 plus the $1,200 outlay each year over 5 years. So now we subtract the $18,500 from the $74,000, which makes $55,500, and divide those by $18,500, and then we end up with a return on investment of 300%. That's not too shabby, is it? While for return on investment, the $14,800 in year 1 have the same value as the $14,800 in year 5, logic tells us that since everything becomes more expensive each year, $14,800 in year 5 are not nearly as valuable as the same amount of money in year 1. That's what net present value gets at. It compares the value of the money now with the value of the money in the future. The formula in the orange box looks a little intimidating, but all it says is that we're subtracting the initial investment minus I0 from the sum of all the net cash flows, that is the expected benefit, but that the money loses a certain percent each year of value. That is the discount rate, R. For our company, the discount rate, R, is 10%, as the business case tells us. Given our numbers from the business case, we see that our discounted cash flow does indeed decrease from year to year because the money loses its value. So what looks like $14,800 in year 5 is worth really just about $9,190. Now we sum up all the values in the orange row and subtract the initial investment of $12,500 in the purple cell, and our result is about $44,000 in the teal cell. That's pretty close to the number in the business case, which also takes into account some other variables that we're not including here. In this module, you learned about the process of translating a project from the glimmer in someone's eye into a solid description called the business case, which then may turn the idea into a project in the organization's project portfolio. We saw what a solid business case looks like and how it is built. Lastly, we learned about 2 important financial calculations, return on investment or ROI and net present value or NPV, both of which are found in most business cases today. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.